in 1,000 years, communism will succeed. Sure.
What we're satirizing as the left is very distinct from the ongoing generic American democratic labor movement and the objectives of labor. That's very distinct from the infighting of the leftover left. This is the eternal labor struggle.
I see. Okay. All right. Nice talking to you. See ya. Be well.
The right of every single human being on earth to live in peace. Este es el derecho de vivir en paz.
I'm not a big fan of pesos either, to be honest with you. I sell stuff on Amazon. I don't like their customer service. As a seller,
Yeah.
as a consumer, it's great. You know, anything at the seller's expense. But as a seller, nah. So, but the solution you think is what? Revolution, socialism? That's gonna confuse. I mean,
Well, it's not a problem. It's not a solution to customer service at Amazon, right? It's for bigger issues, right? You know, look at, you've got a world that's falling apart, right? There's war, right? There's racism. There's all kinds of division. There's unemployment. There's poverty, right? There's growing instability, right? This is all caused by the system. It's not about bad people versus good people. It's like, oh, if we only put good people there, everything's going to be taken. It's a systemic problem.
Which
and
one?
We got technology.
what's the system that causes this instability in the world?
Capitalism.
Oh, capitalism.
Yeah.
Oh, you're referring to capitalism.
Yeah.
Do you make a distinction between capitalism and market economy, or are they
No.
kind of the same thing?
I mean, capitalism is based on a market economy, right? It's the market, right?
Okay. So you're against capitalism, against the market economy, but
We would be in favor of a planned economy, democratically planned.
Planned economy,
where we
really?
use the technology and resources of the world to meet human needs, right? So you produce housing so that everybody has housing, right? You produce transit so that everybody has transit, and you plan things, right? It's not just on haphazard and based on particular whims of the market, you know?
That's interesting. So, but we had a country that had planned economy, and it seems like it didn't work that well. They had Gosplan, which meant state planning committee.
You're talking about Russia.
Yeah, USSR.
Okay. No, but okay. The question is, what happened? What went wrong in Russia, right? Originally, when the Bolshevik Revolution happened, they didn't say we're going to build socialism in a poor, backward country. They said it's going to spread, right? It's going to spread to Germany. It's going to spread to France.
Right.
They use the technology and the industry of those countries, hook them in with the Soviet economy. We'd have a world socialist federation. The thing is the revolution did spread to those countries, but it was unsuccessful.
Why?
Because they didn't have a leadership, right? In Germany, they had a revolution 1918, 1919.
Yeah,
It was stabbed in the back by the reformists and by the right wing. Some of the right wing, those people in the Freikorps, they ended up helping Hitler later on.
You're talking
right?
about Rot Front, right?
No. In Germany, 1918, 1919, the revolution that was stabbed in the back by the reformists, the SPD leadership, and also by the Freikorps, which was basically made up of right-wing people that ended up helping Hitler come into power, right?
But
so they massacred a lot of workers, and they crushed that revolution 1918, 1919. Anyways, the bottom line is there was no leadership like the Bolsheviks to lead that revolution successfully. So the Bolsheviks, the Russians, were isolated in a backward country,
and that's why
they
they
fought
failed.
a desperate war. There was starvation at the end of that war. 4 years. They fought 14 countries, sent forces, including the United States, to overthrow them. They defeated the counter-revolution, but they were left with nothing. The place was a backward country to begin with. It was devastated, right? So, of course, you can't build socialism in a poor, backward area, right?
I see.
And they were isolated. The way to solve that in the future is we got to build a leadership that's not just in one country. It's got to be around the whole world.
Around the world. So you want to start with America then?
That would be a great place to start. That would be the best place to start. That would be the best place to start.
Okay, let's assume,
Absolutely.
hypothetically, you succeed.
Yeah.
So we have planned economy. What do you think is going to happen to the U.S. economy when you when you supplant a market economy, capitalism with a planned economy?
I think things are getting a lot better.
Really?
Right. I think things are getting a lot better.
Really?
Right now, this country, right? You know what? This is what a capitalist economist, not me, just not me, a capitalist economist. They were analyzing the present situation, like at the job of the Federal Reserve. And they said, with the Federal Reserve, with the inflation, right, and the potential of going into another slump, the Federal Reserve's got to land a plane in an earthquake. Right? I think that shows you the kind of condition they're facing, right? Remember the 2008 slump, right? You remember that? What happened again? What propped up the guy? They had to bail out all these companies to prop things up, and it still didn't really solve anything, right? They prevented a 1930s style depression. But it didn't really solve anything, because look at the precarious situation we're in right now, right?
Well, yeah, but look, I see like things are opening, stores are open, there are no huge lines for bread.
Wait a minute, how long have you lived here? Walk in Manhattan, there's a lot of empty stores. It's not like it was 5, 6, 7 years ago.
But there are no bread lines, people are not searching for deficit, as they call it in Russia.
There's a lot of hunger in this country. There's a lot of hunger in this country. There's a lot of hunger in this country.
Okay. Bread lines?
So they organize it differently now, right? There are bread lines, but they're in cars sometimes. People go, look at they're even reporting that on the news, right? About how many people need to get supplemental food. They can't afford food. That's absolutely a big problem.
And it's like a bread.
And we're not even in a slump. What happens when we're in a slump? You know?
So let's say I'm with you. Let's say let's do the revolution. So how can you accomplish that? What will be your first step? How can you progress and transition from a market economy to the state planning economy?
Well, first of all, right now, right, you have to build the leadership, right? You have to build.
Okay, you have another Lenin. We have another Lenin in America. What will Lenin do?
Well, I think he'd be doing what we're doing. Try to build the leadership, right? You got in a country like this, you got to build a party eventually that's got to have like at least 1 million people in it.
Okay, so let's say
so then and we're going to win over. Then you have those kind of forces. You can win over the working class, right? And then at certain times when the working class is ready to fight, and they've tried everything else. They've tried the Democrats. They've tried the Republicans. They tried Trump. They see nothing's working, right? Then eventually they can come across the idea of putting a workers' government into power.
Workers' power.
A workers' government would start by nationalizing the Fortune 500. Wouldn't be nationalizing the small pizza place, just the big 500.
I got it. Okay.
And then use that to democratically plan the economy. Then you can allocate how much is going to go into housing, how much is going to go into education, how much is going to go into healthcare.
And who's going to decide that?
The government, elected by the workers, is going to decide where we're going to put, where you're going to invest.
So is going to be only one party, like Workers' Party, or will there still be kind of opposing parties, competing parties?
It might be a coalition government. Who knows, right? And you would have to wait till you get there. And maybe the working class will have more than one party. That's absolutely possible. You could have a coalition government.
But
actually, by the way, the Bolsheviks, when they started, there was a coalition government. It was the Bolshevik Party and the Left Social Revolution.
Well,
you could have a coalition.
Well,
government.
they didn't have it. I mean, right away after the February Revolution, they essentially, with the bayonets, they dissolved the State Duma, and it was the end of
first of all,
democracy in Russia.
The State Duma wasn't the issue, right? What happened was there was the rise of the Soviets, right? The Soviets, the provisional government was basically a self-selected government, and to the extent that it was based on the State Duma, as you know, that wasn't universal suffrage. That was not elected by everyone, right? So,
but the Bolsheviks were.
The Bolsheviks argued that all the power should go into the Soviets, the workers' Soviets, the peasant Soviets, the military. Eventually that happens in October, right? But in October, that government from the Soviets was a coalition of the Bolsheviks and the Left Social Revolution. But the Social Revolutionaries broke from it on the question of the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk in 1918.
It was more than 100 years ago. So now you are, kind of using Marx and I guess Che Guevara as China, Mao Zedong. So are these?
We don't support Mao Zedong. Anyways. Okay. Go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
Sure. So are these kind of the leaders who you're going to go into footsteps of? In their footsteps,
we wouldn't follow Mao Zedong.
You wouldn't. Okay.
Footsteps. what we would say is if you look at the traditions of Marx, Engels, Lenin, and Trotsky, right? We think Che Guevara was a heroic person. We think he made a lot of fatal mistakes, literally fatal, because it led to his getting killed too, right? So we would say we may admire him as a person, but we'd have some problems with some of the things he did, you know. But I'd say like Marx, Engels, Lenin, Trotsky, Rosa Luxemburg, people like that. You know, there's a lot to learn.
But you know what kind of bothers me? It's okay, maybe, you know, when you do like social experiments, as long as, and that's the keyword for me, there's no suffering. I mean,
is there any suffering in the world today?
Well, when you look at socialism, 100 years in, I'm looking at the countries that implemented so-called socialism, USSR, China, Eastern Europe, Indochina, Cuba, the countries in South and Central America. 100 million people, innocent people, lost their lives for no reason whatsoever.
But wait a
no?
minute.
Am I wrong?
Wait a minute. Look at, like, I'll give you Indochina. A lot of people did lose their lives in Indochina. Why? The U.S. was bombing the hell out of these people.
Well, Pol Pot
Wait a minute. Yeah, Pol Pot came to power as part of the shambles of the United States left there, right? That crazy lunatic, right? And they left that whole area of shambles.
Mao Zedong, Lenin. Let's talk about big guys, Stalin and Mao Zedong.
Look, so Stalin did kill a lot of people. You know, we killed the first. He killed the Bolsheviks. There's a river of blood that separates Stalinism and Bolshevism. Lenin didn't kill all these people. The only thing that existed when Lenin happened, there was a civil war. Absolutely, there was a vicious civil war, and the counter-revolution was a very bloody counter-revolution, and they fought back, and it was equally bloody because you know why? There's no such thing as a war that's not bloody. You know, in World War II, right? The United States, right? You're going to say the United States didn't use blood in World War II?
No,
I mean, come on.
So what I'm getting to, so in other words, the revolution that you're proposing, or the regime change, or the system change in the United States will inevitably, you just said it's a war, inevitably will involve bloodshedding, correct?
Was there bloodshed in the American Revolution? Was there bloodshed in the Civil War, which was the completion of the American? Yes. Well, that's
so
part of that's part of the way life.
So it's a yes.
That's the way life works.
I understand.
We would avoid violence if we could, right? But
it's unavoidable.
The counter-revolution will not allow you to avoid violence, right?
I see. Okay. All right. Well, nice talking to you, I guess. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to you later. Bye.